The boy at the corner tablight was late evening when Keanu Reeves walked into his small, quiet restaurant tucked away on a corner street in the city. He owned this place, but most people didn't know that. He liked it that way. No signs, no fancy banners with his name, just warm yellow lights, old wooden chairs, and the smell of fresh soup and baked bread filling the air. It was his little escape from cameras and noise, a place where kindness and good food could do their gentle work without the world watching. Tonight, the city felt cold. Rain had fallen earlier, leaving the sidewalks wet and shining under street lamps as Keanu stepped inside. He shook tiny droplets from his hair and gave his usual smile to Martha, the kind old lady who managed the front counter. "Slow night?" he asked softly. Martha shrugged with a small laugh. "Just the regulars, and that boy in the corner. He came in alone an hour ago. Hasn't ordered anything yet." Keanu glanced toward the far corner. There, half hidden by the shadows, sat a boy no older than 11. He wore a faded blue hoodie that looked 2 sizes too big, sleeves pulled down over his hands. A small plastic bag sat by his feet, the kind you use to carry clothes, not food. His hair was messy, sticking up in places like he hadn't brushed it in days. He stared at the menu on the table, eyes wide but empty, like he was reading words he couldn't understand. Keanu felt a gentle pull in his chest, a feeling he had learned to trust. He poured himself a cup of warm tea from behind the counter, then walked over to the boy's table, pulling out the chair across from him. The boy flinched when he saw him, like he was ready to run. Keanu smiled softly, setting the tea between them. "Cold night, huh? Want to share some tea with me?" The boy looked at the cup, then at Keanu. His lips moved, but no words came out. Finally, in the smallest voice, he whispered, "I'm sorry, sir. I don't have money. I shouldn't be here. I was just looking at the food." His voice broke on the last word. He pulled his sleeves over his hands again, trying to hide the dirt under his fingernails. Keanu leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table. "Hey, it's okay. You don't need money to share tea with me. What's your name?" The boy's eyes dropped to the floor. "Liam," he whispered. "Liam," Keanu repeated, like he was tasting the name. "That's a good name, Liam. Can I ask you something? Have you eaten tonight?" Liam's shoulders stiffened. He looked up, eyes big and wet under the low lights. He opened his mouth, closed it, then leaned in close like he was sharing the world's biggest secret. His breath shook as he whispered, "I haven't eaten in 3 days." The words fell into the space between them like tiny stones in a pond, sending ripples through Keanu's heart. Keanu nodded slowly, fighting the tight feeling in his throat. He knew hunger. He knew what it felt like when your stomach begged for food your pockets couldn't afford. But what hit him harder was the way Liam looked around, scared someone might hear him, like asking for food was something to be ashamed of. "Liam," Keanu said gently, "you don't have to be afraid here. This place, it's mine. And you are always welcome." Liam's eyes went wide. "Yours?" Keanu smiled. "Yes, mine. I opened it so people could have good food and feel safe. You're part of that now." Before Liam could say anything more, Keanu waved Martha over. He leaned close and said, "Bring him the warmest soup, the fresh bread, and a plate of pasta. Please, and add a piece of apple pie, extra big." Martha nodded, eyes soft and kind. She knew Keanu's heart. She had seen him do this before, but each time felt new. Liam shook his head quickly. "No, I can't pay. I don't want trouble." His voice was breaking, too thin to hold the fear that was trying to burst out. Keanu reached across the table, covering Liam's tiny hand with his own. "You're not in trouble. Liam, you're safe here. No one will make you leave." Martha brought the food out on warm plates, steam rising into the cold air. Liam stared at the soup like he was dreaming. He held the spoon with trembling fingers, his eyes darting to Keanu every few seconds, like he was checking if it was really okay. When he finally took his first bite, a soft sound escaped his throat, half a sigh, half a sob. He ate slowly, carefully, as if he was afraid the food would disappear if he moved too fast. Keanu sat with him the whole time, sipping his tea, asking him gentle questions. Where was he from? Did he have family nearby? Liam told him about his mother who had been sick for months, about the shelter they stayed in, until the beds were full and they had nowhere to go. He showed Keanu the plastic bag by his feet. Inside were a few clothes, an old stuffed bear with one eye missing, and a picture of a woman who looked tired but kind. His mother. Keanu felt his chest tighten. He wanted to fix everything right there, to scoop Liam up and promise him the world. Would never be cruel again, but he knew it didn't work like that. Kindness had to be steady, not just a spark that died when the night ended. When Liam finished his soup and pie, he looked at Keanu with wide, shy eyes. "Why are you helping me?" he asked. His voice was so small, it barely carried above the soft music playing in the background. Keanu smiled, that warm, steady smile that made people feel they weren't alone. "Because once, someone helped me when I thought no one would. And because you matter, Liam. You deserve to be warm, fed, and safe." Liam's lips trembled. For a second, it looked like he would cry, but instead he gave Keanu the tiniest smile. A broken thing, but real. He whispered, "Thank you," in that little corner of a quiet restaurant. With rain tapping gently against the window, Liam and Keanu sat together. A boy who had forgotten what kindness felt like, and a man who knew how powerful it could be when you gave it freely. What neither of them knew was that this small act, this simple meal, was only the beginning. The next days would test Liam's strength, Keanu's promise, and a truth that kindness, once planted, can grow in ways that surprise even the ones who hold it in their hands. A place to belong. Rain fell harder outside as Liam finished the last bite of his pie. Each spoonful seemed to make his shoulders relax a little more, like warmth was slowly sinking into his small bones. He hadn't said much while he ate. His eyes spoke louder than his mouth ever could. They told the story of nights on cold sidewalks, days spent hungry, and the soft, shaking fear that maybe tomorrow would be worse than today. Keanu sat across from him, stirring his tea that had long gone cold. He watched Liam carefully, noticing every small detail, the way the boy hid his hands in his sleeves, the way his eyes kept drifting to the window like he was waiting for someone. Keanu's chest ached. He wanted so badly to promise Liam that this would be the last night he would ever feel hungry or scared, but he knew a promise like that had to be built, not just spoken. When Liam looked up, he seemed embarrassed. "Can I stay a little longer, just till the rain stops?" His voice was so quiet, as if he didn't trust that the warmth would last. Keanu smiled softly. "Liam, you can stay as long as you want. This place is yours too, okay?" Liam nodded, his eyes darting down to his bag on the floor. He hugged it closer to his feet like a shield. Martha, who had been wiping tables nearby, came over with a small blanket. She draped it gently over Liam's shoulders. "There now, sweetheart. You warm up." Liam tried to mumble a thank you, but the words got stuck. He buried his face into the soft cloth, breathing in the smell of fresh laundry. Something so simple yet so far from what he'd known for weeks. Keanu leaned closer, his elbows resting on the table. "Liam, you said your mom is sick. Is she?" Nearby, Liam's eyes flicked up and down again. He looked so young in that moment, smaller than his years. She's at the shelter hospital. She got too weak. They took her in. But they said if she doesn't get better soon, I might have to." He stopped, his breath caught in his throat. His tiny fists pulled the blanket tighter around himself. Keanu placed his hand gently on Liam's. "You don't have to tell me everything right now, but I want you to know this. You're not alone anymore. You don't have to fight by yourself." Liam sniffed, blinking back tears he didn't want to show. "People always say that, then they leave." Keanu's voice was calm but firm, steady like the quiet hum of the restaurant's old fridge. "I'm not everyone else, Liam. You'll see." As the hours passed, Keanu asked Martha to bring Liam a cup of warm milk and a piece of bread for later. He saw how the boy hid half the bread in his bag, probably for his mother. It broke his heart. This boy had so little, yet still thought first of someone else. That was strength, Keanu thought, the kind of strength no one could teach. When the restaurant finally closed for the night, the rain still hadn't stopped. Martha locked the door and turned the sign around. The soft clink of plates and the smell of leftover soup filled the quiet air. Keanu knelt next to Liam's chair. "Liam, where do you usually sleep?" Liam looked away, shame washing over his face, sometimes under the bridge, sometimes near the bus stop. But I got chased last time. They said I couldn't stay there. Keanu's jaw tightened. He hated the way the world treated kids like trash because they didn't have a house or nice clothes. He rested a hand on Liam's shoulder. Listen, I have a small room upstairs, nothing fancy. Just an old couch, some blankets, and a heater. Do you want to stay there tonight? You don't have to go out in the rain. Liam's eyes widened. Really, I won't get in trouble. You won't, Keanu promised, and tomorrow, we'll get you fresh clothes and go visit your mom together. How does that sound? Liam looked at him for a long moment, like he was trying to see if this was another dream that would disappear. Then, slowly, he nodded. Okay. Keanu lifted the boy's bag for him, careful not to make him feel like a burden. They climbed the old wooden stairs behind the kitchen. The tiny room upstairs was simple, just a dusty couch, a small lamp, and an old photo of the restaurant when it first opened. Keanu brought in an extra blanket and tucked it around Liam. The boy sank into the cushions, his eyes already heavy with sleep. Before turning off the lamp, Keanu sat on the edge of the couch. Liam, I want you to remember something, he said softly. Tonight, you are safe. Tomorrow, you are not alone. I will stand by you, okay? Liam's eyes fluttered open one last time. His lips curved into a sleepy smile, small but real. Thank you, he whispered. As Keanu stepped back into the hallway, he paused at the top of the stairs. He looked down at the empty restaurant below, the tables, the chairs, the little sign that said welcome. He thought about how he'd always wanted this place to feel like home for strangers who needed a warm meal. Now, maybe it was more than that. Maybe it could be the beginning of a new story, one where a boy who hadn't eaten in 3 days could learn that the world still had room for him to belong. What he didn't know was that this promise would lead him into a storm bigger than any rain outside. Secrets about Liam's family, people who didn't want the boy to find hope, and a truth that would test whether kindness could really save them both. A visit and a threat. Next morning, soft sunlight slipped through the dusty window of the tiny room above Keanu's restaurant. Liam woke up slowly, blinking at the warm blanket wrapped around him. For a moment, he looked confused, like he couldn't believe he was safe, but then he saw Keanu sitting on an old chair nearby, sipping coffee, and he remembered. Keanu smiled when he saw the boy's sleepy eyes. Good morning, Liam. You slept well. Liam nodded shyly, rubbing his eyes with the sleeve of his hoodie. It's warm here, he whispered. He sounded surprised, as if warmth was something new. Keanu handed him a small paper bag. I got you fresh bread and milk. Eat up, then we'll go see your mom. Liam's eyes brightened. He pulled out a piece of bread and bit into it carefully, like he was afraid it would vanish if he wasn't gentle. When they were ready, Keanu helped Liam pack his little bag. They stepped out into the city streets, where the rain had washed everything clean. Liam walked close to Keanu, holding the edge of his jacket like a child afraid to get lost. They took the bus together, sitting side by side while Liam stared out the window at the passing cars and people who didn't even glance at him. The shelter hospital was an old building with cracked paint and squeaky doors. The smell of medicine and stale coffee drifted through the halls. Liam's small hand tightened around Keanu's as they walked in. At the front desk, the nurse looked at them with tired eyes. She recognized Liam right away. You visiting your mother, Liam? She asked gently. Liam nodded, pressing closer to Keanu's side. They found her in a small room at the end of the hall. She lay on a thin bed, her face pale but peaceful. When she saw Liam, her eyes lit up with a warmth that no sickness could steal away. My boy, she breathed. Liam rushed to her side, burying his face in her blanket. Keanu stood back, giving them a moment. When she noticed him, she tried to sit up. Her voice was weak, but her words were clear. Thank you for looking after my son, sir. Keanu stepped forward and gently touched her shoulder. No need to thank me, ma'am. Liam is a good boy. You've raised him well. She smiled, but her eyes flickered with worry. He doesn't deserve this life. He's just a child. Her lips trembled. They said if I can't get better soon, they'll send him away. They'll put him somewhere far. I can't. Her voice cracked. She covered her face with her hands. Keanu felt anger twist in his chest, anger at a world that turned its back on people like this. He knelt beside her bed. "I won't let that happen," he said firmly. "I will make sure Liam stays close. He has a place with me now." Liam peeked up at him, eyes wide, hope flickering like a tiny flame dot, but hope has enemies. As they left the hospital that day, Liam holding Keanu's hand tighter than ever, they passed by a man leaning against the wall near the entrance. His clothes were fancy, too fancy for this part of town. His shoes shined like mirrors, his hair slicked back, his eyes cold and sharp. He watched Liam and Keanu with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "That your boy?" the man asked, his voice smooth but empty. Keanu's shoulders stiffened. "Who's asking?" The man pushed himself off the wall, pulling out a small cigarette and lighting it slowly. "Just someone who knows Liam's father." He blew smoke into the air, watching it curl and disappear. "The kid's got debts, you know. The old man borrowed money, a lot, skipped town, left the mess behind. You take the boy, you take the debt." Keanu's jaw tightened. He pulled Liam closer. "He's just a child. He doesn't owe you anything." The man's cold smile widened. Maybe not. But some people don't like unpaid debts. Keep him close if you want. But remember, people who will always pay, one way or another." Liam shivered. His small body pressed against Keanu's, sighed like he wanted to disappear. Keanu placed a steady hand on the boy's back. He didn't say anything more. He didn't need to. His eyes told the man everything. "This boy is mine to protect now." The man flicked his cigarette onto the wet ground and crushed it with his shiny shoe. "Good luck, movie star," he said with a mocking laugh, then walked away, whistling a tune that made Liam's stomach twist with fear. That night, back at the restaurant, Keanu sat Liam down at the same corner table where they'd first met. Martha brought them warm soup and extra bread. The lights glowed soft and golden, trying to push back the shadows. Liam looked up at Keanu with worried eyes. "Will they take me away?" he whispered. Keanu leaned forward, his voice steady and calm like a promise carved into stone. "Not if I can help it, Liam. I told you, you're not alone anymore. You belong here, with me. With us, no one will take that away." But deep inside, Keanu knew this wouldn't be easy. Kindness was not enough when people with cold hearts wanted to tear it apart. He looked out the window at the rain, at the street where that cold-eyed man had vanished. He knew he had just stepped into something bigger than he'd expected. But he also knew something else. If the world wanted to test him, it had chosen the wrong boy to threaten and the wrong man to challenge. The fight to protect Liam was only beginning. Asterisk. When kindness is tested, days that followed felt like a quiet storm building behind closed doors. Inside Keanu's small restaurant, warmth and laughter wrapped around Liam like a blanket. Martha taught him how to stack clean plates and wipe tables after the guests left. Liam loved it, the way people smiled at him, the way no one looked at him like he was a problem to be ignored. Each night, he slept on the old couch upstairs, the soft hum of the heater whispering that he was safe. But outside, the shadows waited. Keanu knew the man at the hospital wasn't lying. He spent hours making calls, asking old friends if they knew anything about Liam's father. Every answer came back the same: debt, threats, people owed money that they would never get back. And now those people thought Liam was the last piece they could use to collect. Keanu felt anger tighten in his chest every time he looked at Liam's small hands, carrying dirty plates back to the kitchen. "He's just a child," he thought. "How can they be so cruel?" One evening, as the restaurant buzzed with soft music and warm lights, Liam was clearing a table when the front door opened with a loud creak. A man stepped in, not the cold-eyed one from before, but someone rougher, heavier, with a scar running down his cheek. His boots tracked mud across the clean floor. His eyes landed on Liam like a hawk spotting a mouse. Liam froze, the plate in his hand trembling. Keanu was at the counter. He saw everything. He moved around quickly, standing between Liam and the man. "Can I help you?" Keanu's voice was calm, but there was steel under the softness. The man sneered. "That boy's father owes my boss. We came to collect. He's just a boy." Keanu said quietly, "Whatever happened with his father, It's not his burden. The man laughed, a harsh, empty sound that made Liam press closer to Keanu's side. That's not how the world works, movie star. You want him, fine. Pay the debt. He threw a dirty piece of paper onto the counter. The number scribbled on it made Martha gasp behind the kitchen door. It was more than Keanu could pull out of his pocket tonight. Maybe more than he could pull out at all. Liam tugged on Keanu's sleeve, his voice small and cracked. Sir, I don't want you to get in trouble because of me. I can go, no. Keanu's answer was sharp but gentle. At the same time, he knelt beside Liam, his hands resting firmly on the boy's shoulders. You're not running anymore. You belong here. The man slammed his fist on the counter, making the plates rattle. This isn't your business, Reeves. Pay up or we take him. You think the law cares about some street kid? They don't. For a moment, the restaurant fell silent. The other guests froze, watching with wide eyes. Martha stepped out from the kitchen, holding a rolling pin like a bat. Her hands shook, but her eyes were fierce. You're not taking him, she said in her soft but clear voice. Not from here. Keanu straightened up, meeting the man's eyes with a steady calm that felt like a wall. Tell your boss I'll have what he wants, but you don't touch the boy. You don't come here again. The man smirked. 1 week, or the boy's gone. Maybe you too. Then he turned and left, the door slamming shut behind him. The restaurant felt like it was holding its breath. Liam stood there, staring at the muddy footprints on the floor. His small hands gripped the edge of his hoodie so tight that his knuckles turned white. I'm sorry, he whispered. I didn't mean for this. I can leave. I can hide. Keanu knelt again, lifting Liam's chin so their eyes met. Listen to me. You don't hide. Not anymore. You belong here. You have people now. People don't leave people. Martha came over, wrapping her flour-dusted hands around Liam's. You're family now, child. Family means you don't run alone. But later that night, after Liam fell asleep upstairs, Keanu sat alone in the dark restaurant. The bills on the counter felt like sharp knives. He knew he couldn't pay that debt with one paycheck or even one film. He thought about selling the restaurant, but this place was more than bricks and chairs. It was hope for Liam, for everyone who had walked in hungry and walked out full. Then he looked at the corner table where Liam had first whispered his hunger, the same spot where he had learned that the smallest kindness could turn into a promise that could not be broken. He made up his mind. If he had to stand in front of the whole world and ask for help, he would. If he had to fight men who thought money was bigger than kindness, he would. And if he had to remind the world that a boy's life was worth more than any debt, he would do that too. Keanu didn't know yet how, but he knew one thing for certain. He would not let the world swallow Liam's hope again. Not while he still had breath in his body. Asterisk the promise of tomorrow morning after the threat. The restaurant felt different. It still smelled of fresh bread and warm soup, but there was a tension in the air that even Martha's soft humming couldn't cover. Liam sat at the corner table, drawing circles on a napkin with a dull pencil. He looked up every time the door creaked, his eyes searching for danger in every shadow. Keanu knew that fear well. He remembered nights when he had felt the same, waiting for something bad to come crashing through a door you couldn't lock. He refused to let Liam carry that weight alone, so he did what he always did when life got hard. He worked harder. He spoke to Martha, to his closest friends, and to people in the neighborhood who had eaten in his restaurant for years. He didn't ask for pity. He asked for something much bigger, belief. That afternoon, he gathered everyone together. Regular customers, local shop owners, old friends, and even strangers who had heard whispers of the boy who hadn't eaten in 3 days. Liam sat beside Keanu at the front table, eyes wide as the room filled with soft murmurs. Keanu stood up, clearing his throat, his hands resting protectively on Liam's shoulders. Everyone, he began, his voice warm but strong. This is Liam. You've probably seen him here the last few days. He's not just some poor kid off the street. He's part of this place now, part of us. But some people think they can take him away because of mistakes he didn't make. They think money matters more than a boy's life. He paused, looking around at faces, some wet with tears, some nodding, all listening. I believe in something different. I believe that when we stand together, No one can steal what we hold dear. This restaurant has always been about more than food. It's about people. About being family when the world tries to break us apart. He turned to Liam, who looked up at him like he was seeing the sky. For the first time, Liam is my family now. I will protect him with everything I have. But I can't do it alone. For a moment, there was silence. Then Martha stepped forward. Her apron still covered in flour. She placed an old, chipped mug on the counter and dropped a few bills into it. "That's my share," she said. "Not just for Liam, for hope." One by one, people came forward. An old man who owned the flower shop dropped coins into the mug. A young mother pressed a small folded note into Liam's hand, whispering, "Stay strong, sweetheart." Even strangers who had just come in for coffee pulled out a few dollars, not because they were rich, but because they knew what it meant to hold on to goodness. When darkness knocked, Liam watched with wide, tearful eyes. He had never seen people stand for him like this. He turned to Keanu, his voice trembling. "Why are they helping me? I'm no one." Keanu knelt down, his hands gentle on the boy's shoulders. "You're not no one, Liam. You're someone, and you belong to us now." But kindness alone could not erase the danger. Late that night, after the restaurant closed, Keanu sat alone, by the window counting the donations. It was enough to make a dent, but not enough to clear the debt completely. He knew the men would be back. He knew they would not care about mugs filled with coins or hearts filled with hope. So he made a decision. The next morning, he called an old friend, a lawyer who had helped him before. Together, they found out the truth. Liam's father had not just run from debts. He had made deals with men who wanted to use the boy as leverage, a pawn to scare others. Keanu's blood boiled. He would not let Liam be a pawn. Not while he was alive, but just when he thought he had seen the worst. He found out something even more painful. Liam's mother's condition was getting worse. The shelter hospital could only do so much. She needed better care, a warm home, not just a cold bed surrounded by strangers. Keanu sat by her side that night, her breathing shallow, her hands weak as they clutched his. "Thank you," she whispered, "for giving my boy hope." Keanu held her hand tight. "He deserves a childhood. He deserves a future. I will not let them break him." Tears slipped from the corners of her eyes. Promise me you will never let him believe he is alone." Keanu nodded, his voice steady even as his own eyes filled. "I promise." When he stepped out into the hallway, Liam was waiting. He looked small, sitting on a bench, his bag clutched to his chest. Keanu knelt in front of him, brushing a tear from his cheek. "Your mother loves you more than anything in this world, Liam. Do you know that?" Liam nodded, his voice a whisper. "I know. I want her to come home." Keanu's heart cracked. "She will, buddy, and so will you." But as he carried Liam back to the restaurant that night, the streetlights flickering overhead, he knew the next days would decide everything. He knew the men would not stop. They would come for Liam, for the restaurant, for him. But he also knew something stronger. The kindness he had planted in that small corner of the city was bigger than any threat. Liam had people now. He had hope. And Keanu had a promise to keep, no matter what it cost him. What he didn't know yet was that the final test was closer than he thought. And when it came, Liam himself would be the one to stand up and show the world that sometimes the smallest voice can silence the loudest threats. Asterisk the boy who stood up. The city was quiet that night, but inside Keanu's restaurant, the walls felt like they were holding their breath. Liam lay curled up on the old couch upstairs, his small bag clutched to his chest like a shield. Downstairs, Keanu sat alone at the counter, the chipped mug full of coins in front of him. Martha cleaned the tables in silence, her eyes flicking to the front door every few seconds, as if expecting it to burst open. Keanu knew they would come. The debt collectors, the same men who believed a boy's life could be used as a threat. He had tried everything, the donations, the lawyer, even selling a few things he owned. But it wasn't enough, and tonight, he felt it in his bones. They would push harder. They would try to scare Liam into running away, into giving up hope. But Keanu had made a promise, and he would keep it no matter what. When the door swung open, it slammed against the wall so hard that the whole restaurant shook. Two men stepped inside. One was the scarred man who had come before. The other was new, bigger. With a heavy coat and cold eyes, they walked straight up to the counter where Keanu waited. "Where's the boy?" the scarred man asked, his voice like gravel. Keanu stood tall, his voice calm but strong. "He's not your business. He's not going anywhere." The bigger man leaned forward, sneering. "You think you can protect him forever? Let's get paid. One way or another, upstairs." Liam heard every word through the thin floorboards. His small hands trembled as he pulled the blanket around his shoulders. For a moment, old fear whispered in his mind, "Run, hide. You don't belong here." But then he remembered Keanu's promise, "You have people now. You don't have to run." Slowly, Liam stood up. His legs shook as he crossed the tiny room. He slipped out of the door and onto the stairs, each step creaking like a tiny voice telling him to be brave. When he reached the bottom, the men turned, surprised to see him standing there. "Liam, stay back," Keanu said quickly, moving to shield him. But Liam shook his head. His eyes were big and scared but steady in a way that made the whole room feel stronger somehow. "No, sir," Liam whispered. "I want to speak." The scarred man laughed, a low, mocking sound. "What's the boy gonna do? Beg?" Liam's tiny fists clenched at his sides. "My father owed you, not me. I'm not him. I didn't run away. I didn't lie. I didn't steal. I'm just a boy. I didn't eat for 3 days because I was hungry, not because I wanted trouble." His voice cracked, but he kept going. "You can't take me. You can't scare me. You can't make me feel like I don't belong because I do. This is my family now. This place feeds people who are hungry, even people like me. And people like you will never take that away." The whole room was silent. Martha stood frozen behind the counter, a dish towel clutched in her hand. Keanu watched Liam, pride swelling in his chest like a fire. The small boy, who once couldn't whisper for help, was now standing tall in front of men twice his size. The scarred man snarled, stepping forward. "You think words are gonna fix this, kid?" Before he could grab Liam's arm, Keanu moved. His hand shot out, gripping the man's wrist with a force that made him flinch. Keanu's voice was low, steady, and unshakable. "Touch him and I swear, you will learn what happens when you threaten someone who is family." At that moment, the front door opened again, but this time it wasn't more trouble. It was the lawyer, breathless from running, papers clutched in his hand. "Mr. Reeves," he shouted, "we found it. We found it." The lawyer slapped the papers on the counter. Liam's father signed everything over to another man before he disappeared. "A fake deal. It's fraud. These men have no legal claim on this boy. They can't touch him. They can't touch you. I already spoke to the police." The big man's face went pale. The scarred man's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. Martha stepped forward, her voice calm and deadly. "You heard him. Leave, now." They backed away slowly, eyes darting from Keanu to the lawyer to Liam, the small, shaking boy who had stood taller than any of them. When the door slammed shut behind them, the restaurant stayed quiet for a heartbeat. Then Martha started to cry, big, happy tears that she wiped away with her apron. The lawyer clapped Keanu on the back, but Keanu only had eyes for Liam. He knelt down, hands on the boy's trembling shoulders. "Liam, you did that. You stood up. You told them who you are." Liam's lips trembled. "I was so scared." Keanu smiled, tears shining in his own eyes. "Being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you stand anyway, and you did." Martha turned the sign on the door to closed, then brought out warm soup and fresh bread from the kitchen. The regulars who had waited outside came in, one by one, hugging Liam, patting his back. They passed him slices of pie, cups of cocoa. They reminded him that he was theirs now, and no one could change that. Liam sat at the same corner table where he had once whispered, "I haven't eaten in 3 days." But tonight, he didn't sit alone. Martha sat beside him, fussing with his hair. Keanu sat across from him, a hand always on his shoulder, steady and warm. And as laughter filled the little restaurant again, Liam looked around at his new family, the family that had chosen him, protected him, and given him the one thing no debt collector could ever steal: a place to belong. Outside, The city lights flickered like tiny stars, and inside, a boy who once thought he was invisible now knew that no one could take away his place in this world, not while people like Keanu, Martha, and all those who believe in kindness still stand strong.